Well, some of you may know that I started this podcast during the pandemic because all my gigs had been canceled. And I needed a way to make some money and keep going with my music career. And if you remember, at the beginning of the pandemic, we were all still friends. Everybody was still friends with each other for the most part. There was always some fringe people who didn't want to, get involved, which is cool. I get the fringe people. That's cool too. But for the most part, all of us were friends, and I remember I had a birthday party. It was March 7th, 2020. And at my birthday party, I had I don't know, it was probably 40 people, maybe more, a little less maybe. I don't know. It was a lot of people here. And I think back on those times, I'm like, well, that doesn't happen anymore because we all started fighting during the pandemic. And when I started this podcast, I did it because I thought, well, it'd be a good thing to keep people company. I can give my thoughts on what's going on in the pandemic, maybe share some tips on how to take care of your health, unless we all die, and then it's inevitable we're all going to die. And we didn't all die. Some of us did, unfortunately. Rest in peace, the people who died during the pandemic. But a lot of us didn't die, and instead we just started fighting with each other about George Floyd and and defunding the police and the vaccine and Donald Trump and Joe Biden, and it just went on. And now here we are. It's 2024, and I'm still doing this podcast, sometimes reluctantly, because I'm trying to fix my hair. All right. Yeah. So, is my podcast cringe? Is the question I got this week from myself and my spirit. I'm thinking back on all the episodes. This is episode 59, and I just wonder how many people cringe when they see what I'm doing, and basically ruining my image, my mysterious image, which I used to have a mysterious image, and now I probably don't for a lot of people. And a lot of people, probably my image has been completely trashed. I know for sure I've lost fans and friends, and maybe hopefully they come back sometime. But the thing is about this podcast is I started it during the pandemic, as you know. And it was just because all my gigs had been canceled during the pandemic, all of them, just like every musician out there. And so I thought, well, better get online and start, keep going with my music career online as much as possible, and hopefully make some money online too. So, and I'd wanted to start a podcast anyway, so it was a good chance to do it, and I did. And then, I just thought it'd be a good idea on the podcast to share my thoughts as what's going on. And when the pandemic first started, as you remember, we were all still friends. Everybody was still friendly with each other. And I had a birthday a week before the pandemic was declared. It was March 7th, 2020. On my birthday party, I had 40 people there, maybe more or less, but there was a lot of people there. And as the pandemic went on, as you know, we started fighting, and people started dying, of course. I thought everybody was going to die. And then, 3 or 4 months into the pandemic, we had the George Floyd thing came up, which God rest in peace, George Floyd. But the George Floyd thing happened, and then the defund the police thing happened, and then the presidential election of Donald Trump and Joe Biden happened, and then the vaccines happened, and we all started fighting. Everybody started fighting, and as time went on, I felt less and less comfortable doing this podcast because my views were definitely counter to what a lot of my fans' views were. Not all of them, but a lot. A significant, lost fans and friends over the issues during the pandemic, and that's not uncommon. We all did. And I don't know, sometimes, maybe I don't know when to quit these things sometimes, but I just keep going because, for one, I am making a little bit of money on this thing, and I think it's going to grow. I think this is the future a lot of ways for musicians, myself especially, because why leave the house when you can just stay home and do it at your house, and it takes a lot of energy to travel around and go to all those gigs and set up your equipment everywhere. And I'm not saying I love playing live. I love playing live, and I'm not going to stop playing live. But this is just a good way to supplement my income. And it's been working, and it's not easy. It's been a lot of work. But we just live in a cringy time, people. I know people must watch this and listen to it sometimes and just cringe at some of the stuff I have to say. And I have cringed at some of the things I've said. I don't regret the things I've said, but I definitely sometimes cringe, especially on those 2 episodes, the War of the Sexes episodes. Those were pretty cringy sometimes. But, like, again, I don't regret saying any of it. I don't think anything I said was, like, untrue necessarily, or I don't disagree with it. But it's just crazy that it's come to this. I just wanted to be a musician. I am a musician. But somehow I started turning into this, narrator of our times. And I know there's a lot of people doing it too. But nobody's got exactly the same take as me. Everybody has their own take. And I feel like people can benefit from this take that I have, because I do try to stay moderate. I try to embrace all sides. I don't believe in the left-right paradigm. I think I've gotten out of it a long time ago, probably when I voted for Obama the first time. And I didn't vote for him the second time. I did vote for him the first time, but then I realized all politics are just all rigged, and I still think we should vote, but I'm not in that paradigm, and no disrespect for the people who are. But that's the thing. You can't really say anything anymore without somebody getting offended and turned off. Like if you talk about Donald Trump, say, right? It's really hard to be indifferent about Donald Trump. I feel like I'm indifferent about Donald Trump. I have friends who love him, and if I say something bad about Trump, they might stop watching my show. And then I have friends who hate Donald Trump, and if I say something good about Donald Trump, they might stop watching my show. And that's just one example, of course, one big example. Donald Trump is a very divisive and polarizing figure, of course, but that's the times we're living in, and I really sincerely do try to consider all sides and present a moderate middle ground for everybody that can agree on. And I know it's not possible really to agree on all these subjects, but that's what I'm doing here, and I'm going to keep blazing forward as long as I can, I guess, or as long as it makes sense. Or it is, man, I put a lot of energy into this thing, and I'm not complaining, but it would be really easy just to quit this. It would be really easy, and really, it would feel really good for a couple minutes to quit this, but then I know I'd regret it. So I'm going to try to keep going, cringe or no cringe. So I hope you're enjoying it, or some of it, or hopefully it's giving you some company or something, benefiting your life in some way, I hope. And hopefully all my friends and fans that I lost over these last few years will come back, and we can have a big birthday party again at my house like we used to, like old times. That doesn't happen anymore. I just posted a clip of Thanksgiving 2019 a few weeks back during Thanksgiving, and it was all of us jamming together. I don't think that would happen anymore for me, because, I don't think a lot of people really want to be hanging out with me necessarily, because I think they think I'm a radical or extremist, which I'm not. And I don't get invited, to a lot of these things that I used to get invited to, because I think I am too controversial, which is a shame, but that's just what it is. But a lot of people still love me, and they really support me, and it's for those people that I keep going. And I keep hoping that not to step on toes. I don't like alienating people. Okay? So there it is. Is my podcast cringe? Maybe so. It probably is. But are the times we're living in cringe? Yes, they definitely are. This is a cringy period in human history. So just let it fly, people. Be yourselves, and let's try to find common ground as always.